It is time yet again for another 3 breakdown. You comment, we respond.
Bam!
What a bonus. The first hand is, why would Ola make this player? It's called something like that. Anyway, click right up there to check that out. It's a weird hand featuring Ola Shemian, and I still don't really know what he was thinking.
I mean, we sort of do a little
Yeah,
bit,
a
but
little bit.
let's hear what the people had to say. I Am Moj says, poker guys, you're dead wrong on this one.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I like it.
Finally, we got caught.
Yep.
Yeah.
We just made it up. All right.
Yeah.
He says, if you agree that Ferris only raises with flushes, then Ola's decision to call is definitely correct. The really unlikely parlay is the one in which Ferris actually has the flush. A, the ace and 10 of spades remove a ton of legitimate open raising hands. It's kind of a good point.
He's on the button, but okay.
But, still does. B, a flush draw without showdown value, i.e. non-ace high, is typically a standard C-bet. I mean, yeah.
Sure, but he didn't bet. That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah. C, the raise on the turn likely causes the weakest flush draws to fold. That's a fair point. Even under the best conditions, there aren't a ton of spade flushes in Ferris' range. These are not the best conditions. Meanwhile, Ola only needs to be winning 25% of the time to make a call correct, ignoring ICM. Due to the tiny value range, that's maybe 2 combos of bluffs. This is sort of assuming, though, that Ferris is like a professional player who's thinking all these ways.
Right, and that Ferris is deciding to bluff a ton.
Yeah, but let's continue.
All right.
In contrast, all the combo club draws are in Ferris's range, and an amateur could easily misinterpret the ace of spades as the perfect bluff card. Lastly, the blocking bet is so common that most card room regulars know its standard purpose. That's why the best players use the blocking bet to induce bluffs from amateurs. In summary, easy call, bad result.
Well, that's certainly a different opinion than we have.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with all of these assertions, but it's interesting.
It's intelligently written, and it has some interesting thought behind it. I'm going to disagree strongly with one thing.
Let's see.
Ignoring ICM.
Okay.
Very flippantly ignoring ICM. We can't do that. This is a tournament.
Also, we're Ola Shemian, which means if we keep those chips, we probably still have the best chance to win, right? Or one of the very best chances to win, because there's amateurs everywhere, all around me.
The whole thing is, first of all, Ola bet the river, which wasn't exactly something we loved either.
Right.
So we need to talk about that as well. I'm going to take a step back here and say, is Ferez really pulling the trigger on a bluff here that often, even if we theoretically get through all of these things? Is he really going to do it?
Right. It's one thing to say, oh, well, you do it with this part of your range and blah, blah, blah. It's another thing for an amateur to raise the river when a scary card comes and it gets bet into after there was a raise on the turn. It's just asking a lot.
Yeah.
By the way, it's asking a lot for anybody.
Right.
I think especially an amateur. There's some live wire amateurs who absolutely can do this, and then you have to call those guys.
Also, by the way, Ola's range theoretically is uncapped here, the way he's played the hand. Ola could easily have the nuts himself from Ola's perspective, which means he should be very afraid of Ferez raising here.
I'm not sure I also really agree with the notion that somehow Ferris can see that it's a blocky bet and knows to raise it. You're saying it's like, oh yeah, card room regulars know that. I feel like I use that play against card room regulars all the time. It works great.
Right.
Also, I don't know that Ferez really sees the ace of spades as a great bluffing card, like you're saying.
Right.
I don't know why that would be the case. Ferez is the guy who's supposed to have clubs. Ola can have clubs or spades very easily.
Right. Well, we may disagree with you on a lot of these points, though. I think it's a cool comment.
Yeah, and I will say this. I don't really understand why it happened, and you seem to think you do know, so maybe you're right and we're wrong. Like, that's possible, too. All right, moving on. Phil4 says, hey, guys, love the vids. I have a question about identifying hand ranges based on specific actions.
Okay.
On the turn, you said Ola makes his hand look like 5-5 or Jack-10 with the raise, which is, of course, a set of fives or top 2.
Right.
I'm struggling to develop my game to the point where I would identify that. I would raise there with King-Queen of clubs, Jack-Jack, 10-10, 3-3, which I guess is bottom set, right? Spade draws as a weird delayed semi-bluff. Is there anything I can do to learn the appropriate places to make certain moves? Because I feel that this is part of my game which is really lacking. Thanks, John in Ireland. Cool
question. I think part of this is that we omitted some hands that we could have talked about because we were just giving examples. Like I said, Ola could have a set of 5s here. That means Ola could also have a set of 3s.
Of course.
Yeah, we're not saying that he can't have a set of 3s and he can have a set of 5s. I was just giving that as an example.
Yeah.
He certainly could have the combo draws. I think the main point we were making, though, is that Ola has more good made hands than Ferez after the turn because Ferez did not raise. He just called the raise. So if Ferez had a set of 5s, he would have likely raised, whereas Ola didn't have an opportunity to raise again, so he could still have the set of 5s.
Right. Also, Ola is very unlikely to have 10s or jacks because it was a button raise, right. by Ferez. And Ola was in the big blind after a call in the small blind. Ola's very likely to 3-bet those hands.
But the range that you constructed of raising as Ola is pretty much correct.
Yeah.
Like, we agree, you probably are going to raise King, Queen of clubs there. We're not saying he can't have that. He's just more likely to have the made hands than Ferez.
I'm not sure he'd be raising spades that often as opposed to just calling when it's so cheap on the turn.
King, queen of spades?
King, queen is, sure, a combo draw with spades,
Yeah.
sure. But just normal, any 2 spades,
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but it's not impossible.
Right.
So, yeah, actually, we think you're doing a fine job with Reggie.
All right, the next hand we're going to talk to you about is a hand that you will love if you like mistakes. It's called Blunder at the WSOP. Click right up there. Come back here for the comments.
I will say this. We were a little harsh to Lee Childs, I thought, in the video.
It was hard not to be. We tried to say, we said, it's 2007, we got to qualify it, let's try to treat him with kid gloves, and then we kind of destroyed him. But it was hard not to.
I expected there to be, some backlash.
Yeah.
In the comments, there really wasn't. A lot of people sort of piled on, if anything.
Well, I guess most people can recognize that what he did was probably a bad play.
We all agree for once,
Yeah.
pretty much. Anyway, so let's hear what some of the folks had to say.
Okay.
Joshua Hoggard says, more fundamentally, Childs folds the strongest hand he ever has. What is his 4-betting range? Kings, aces, ace-king plus. So one would assume queens is the strongest hand he has when he calls. 7s, 4s, and deuces are not getting a good price to set mine. It's quite possible that Childs has elected to fold every hand in this spot. Playing live and seeing queens is a godsend. WTF is he doing? Get it in. Ridiculously nitty. I do not get it. He then follows up his own comment with this. Plus, leading a set, not sure he's doing this. So folding 100% of his donking range, talk about a donk.
Well, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we have anything to add to that. That makes plenty of sense. I'm not sure if Lee Childs would necessarily understand that he's not getting the right implied odds at that time to call with those sets. So maybe he could have the sets, but like you say, maybe he wouldn't donk the set.
Yeah, he might. It seems less likely he'd donk a set anyway, right? And I agree, he's probably 4-betting kings.
Yeah.
So then queens is, it's possible queens is actually the very best hand he can ever have.
That's a pretty interesting point.
Which is crazy exploitable. Of course, a donk fold, it's like the worst way to ever play that hand. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
All right.
Good comment. Brendan Nelson says this. Jerry Yang would snap with jacks. Go look at some of the garbage calls he made at this final table. He's 100% calling with jacks, doesn't know how to fold. I will say, I remember him opening ace-9. The pro Lee, not Lee Childs, the other guy.
Alan Cunningham?
No,
that was the year before.
The bald guy sitting, Lee Atkinson.
Okay, whatever. Who cares?
Anyway, moves in with ace-7 for a lot, like 29 blinds, and Jerry Yang calls pretty quickly with ace-9.
Well, maybe he owned him.
He definitely owned him, but the point is, I agree with Brendan Nelson, Jerry Yang is probably not folding jacks here.
Right, so this is a huge missed opportunity for Lee Childs, I guess, is the major point being said here. That's a big double up for him, and Jerry Yang's essentially out of the tournament.
Yes, instead of winning all the monies, Jerry Yang is out in 9th.
And then he wore that white suit the next year. Do you guys remember that? He didn't make it past day 1, I don't think.
No.
But he came in like an all-white suit, just like from down on high. I am Jerry Yang. I am gracing you with my presence.
He won the money.
Yeah.
For our final hand this week, is Phil Ivey this good?
Man, you're doing well today.
Hard to remember the names sometimes.
Yeah.
So that's the hand. You can check it out right up there, of course. Between Phil Ivey and Patrick Antonius, Phil Ivey flops a set of 9s. Patrick goes runner, better full house.
Don't tell him. Make him watch it.
Oh, sorry.
Watch it.
Watch it and you'll see what happens.
It's a really cool hand. It was one of my favorite podcasts that we've done for a while because there was a lot to figure out that we didn't see initially.
Yeah.
That was fun.
The best hands are like that.
Yeah.
For sure. Often Phil Ivey hands, by the way.
Yeah.
Still trying to help says, I think Ivey should just open shove this river for 2.6x pot and go full Polar Express.
It's a cool idea.
It's an incredible thing to say, Polar Express.
Yeah.
This is a great play because it puts full pressure on the flushes that would otherwise just call a standard pot or 3/4 pot size bet risk-free. Ivey doesn't have to worry about hands better than his because if Patrick has one of those hands, Ivey's getting raised and paying him off as we saw. Betting smaller simply becomes an effective free roll for his opponent. This is interesting.
That is an interesting idea for sure.
Yeah.
I guess it's hard to think of in the moment, but it is a cool idea. The question would be, is he really getting paid off by all of the flushes when he does that? That's the real question.
Right. Are we getting called by even the nut flush when we do that? It's close.
I don't know if we are because they have the nut flush, right? If we do this, then Patrick has the nut flush. He knows we don't have the nut flush. So we're doing this with a jack high flush? That seems ambitious.
Seems impossible.
So if Patrick sat there and thought about it for a while, I think he might find a fold if Ivey did that.
But it does mean, I think Patrick sometimes would call though, as well. And then you get paid hugely instead of just a little bit. And if you know you're calling all bets anyway from better hands, it's not the end of the world if they're going to raise all in.
Yeah.
It's an interesting idea.
It's definitely an interesting
idea.
idea.
I like it. I don't know if I would do it, but I like it. Maxic1177 says,
of course,
you say if they were deeper that Patrick would not raise the river with a nut flush because he would be concerned about being blown off the hand by getting bluffed. But if he thinks Ivy will bluff in that scenario, then how is it a bad thing? I don't think it's about Patrick raising the river with a nut flush. Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That is what we said. Okay.
You said that.
I did.
So
just
respond
remember
to
it.
the comments, sir.
Okay. So it's not a bad thing if we think Phil Ivey's going to bluff a lot. But if we know that by just calling we win a lot of the time and we minimize our losses, but if we raise with the nut flush and we fold out a lot of the worst hands, maybe even all of them, right? And then Phil Ivey moves in with all better hands and sometimes a bluff.
Yeah.
We may have to fold. He may not be, we may feel like we just have to fold because we're losing too often and then we can still get bluffed too.
Right. I think that's a key that was not discussed when you mentioned that as an idea.
Sure.
Was that it's not that just that we're going to get bluffed sometimes. It's also that most of the time we're not getting bluffed.
Right.
Like we're open to getting bluffed because if Phil Ivey actually were to 3-bet, say they each had $1 million behind, and Phil Ivey 3-bets all in, he's usually not bluffing.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
so we probably have to fold the nut flush, and we can get bluffed.
Right. You can do this against certain opponents who are crazy and overvalue their hand. Jamie Gold comes to mind, actually. Where you might actually raise the river with the intention of inducing either a bluff or someone just overvaluing their worst flush. Jamie Gold actually might get it in here with the jack high flush, even if you're deep. I've seen him do stuff like that. So against that guy, you could have a different plan where you actually raise and think, I just can't fold against this guy. And sometimes he's got me and sometimes he doesn't. But that's okay because he's also going to be bluffing sometimes. I can call, because when you add that all together, I come out ahead.
Right.
But against Phil Ivey, when he's 3-bet shoving, he has very few bluffs, although he has some.
The heart of the idea is that if Phil Ivey were to 3-bet, if they were deeper, then we have a bluff catcher with the nut flush.
Right.
We never are beating any of the value that Ivey is doing that with. That's really the heart of the matter.
And I don't believe Phil Ivey would ever be doing it in an imbalanced way with too many bluffs or anything like that. So then it's just really hard to call.
Yep.